Saturday, August 23rd, 4:37 p.m. New York time. Welcome back, investors, to Winning Wall Street's Money. We just finished another week, very close to the end of the month of August. And yesterday, the leadership of the Federal Reserve gave a public speech. You can read the document, it's public information. The reaction to the market was more buyers stepped in. My opinion is very likely it was a short squeeze. If you don't know what short squeeze is, well, I discussed that in my videos on my Patreon account. We're going to look at the S&P 500 stock sectors. There's 11 sectors in the S&P 500. Yep. Very diversified, the S&P 500. And we're look at where the strength of the S&P 500 is, because we could break it down. These sectors I'm going to show you, they all have stock ETFs. You can buy them. You can outperform the S&P 500, or you could choose to stay in par. This is the S&P 500, 5 years. Each candle is a week. Here's the bottom of the year. Here's the high of the year. I want to zoom in and show you. Last week, not the week that ended yesterday, Friday, the week before that was the all-time high. So we haven't broken the high yet. And here's a gap that has not been filled yet. So that's the S&P 500. Now let's look at the stock sectors to see if any of them are outperforming it. Again, here's the low for the year. Here's the high for the year. Last week was the high of the year. First sector, self-explanatory. It says right here in white. I typed it out. Technology. Again, last week was the all-time high. This past week, look what it did. Lower high, lower low. The trend reversed. The trend is down. So the stock index is performing better than technology. Healthcare, way below the highs of last year. Yeah, it's performing terrible. And here's the high of this year. The financial sector, all-time new high right there. It's outperforming the S&P 500. This past week, all-time new high. The financial sector is strong. The big banks, the insurance companies, the financial institutions. Consumer discretionary, below the highs of last year, underperforming. Communication services, inside candle. Yep, we didn't break the high of last week. Industrial, well, several weeks ago was the all-time high, and then we dumped, we sold off. Underperforming the S&P 500. Consumer staples, still below the highs of last year, underperforming. And look what it did. This year, this week, ran up, retested this, impulse moved down. What did it do? It tested it, rejected it, forming a bearish pin bar. Energy, way below the highs of last year. Utilities, again, look at that. Prior weeks was the high. Real estate, way below the highs of 2021. Basic materials, below the highs of last year. Again, we're seeing most of the sectors are underperforming the S&P 500. And again, the S&P 500 right here. Big difference. Be concerned, again, maybe a short squeeze until we have new buyers step in and breaking key point, swing points and closing above that. Then I would see a stronger market. We also have more tariffs on the way. So the big picture is, and my thoughts, if the Federal Reserve lowers the interest rates come next month, what does that do about the tariffs? Also, you have unemployment increases and the inflation continues. Yes, we have inflation. Inflation continues. And if we continue having high unemployment and the consumers spend less money, Where do you think the market's going to go? Thank you as always, spending just a little time with me. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching.